What is up, awesome people? So I was waiting to put out this guide because honestly, I wanted the build I was working on to be complete, but with the way Monster Hunter World works, that could take a day, it could take a week, a month, who knows, it could take a year. But one of the things I really do like about Monster Hunter World is with all the different weapons, armor, skills, and decorations, you can pretty much build what you want to build. You can build out to fit your playstyle, or put together these different builds to go after specific monsters. But I found out that just because something sounds good doesn't mean it works as well in the game. When I first started playing, I decided pretty quickly that I liked the 𝐓𝐇𝐀𝐍𝐊, and that was the weapon I was going to build around. And I envisioned a high DPS build that had Mushroom-mancer built into it. Now what I found out that is, no matter how much DPS you have in this game, it doesn't really matter, because you can't kill a monster in one hit, but they can kill you in one hit. And the way the game mechanics work, almost every monster has a high damage attack that if it lands, it can cart you. They also have attacks that are unblockable, and then you have to take into effect the jam factor. The jam factor is a reference that me and my friends have back to the old arcade game NBA Jam. In NBA Jam, you could be winning the entire game, and the game would get down to 2 seconds left, and you would be up by 4 points. And in those last 2 seconds, the computer would steal the ball from you, hit a full court three-pointer, then turn around and steal the ball again and smash down a boom shakalaka dunk for the win. You just got NBA jammed. Monster Hunter World is notorious for this. You might be kicking a monster's ass all over the map. He's dying. He's crawling back to his den. You overconfidently walk in, attacking, knowing you got this. Then boom shakalaka, he kills you 3 times in a row, and you just wasted 50 minutes. It's a game mechanic I'm sure some people hate, and it will put them off from the game. I personally don't mind it. I think it makes the game challenging. I mean, we are playing a game from Capcom, who is known for making fighting games. So when you're fighting 𝐊𝐇𝐀𝐍𝐊, you might as well call him M. Bison, because that's how the computer reacts to you, like a Street Fighter opponent. It anticipates your moves and tries to attack based on your decisions. It reads your inputs and then it counters. And sometimes when all else fails, it just hits you with a bullshit attack, something that should have never hit you. Once I started fighting some of the tempered monsters, I started to realize that it didn't matter how much damage I was going to output with this DPS build, because if they wanted to kill me, they were going to kill me, especially with those unblockable attacks. So that's when I started putting together a build that was going to be able to survive and kill pretty much every monster in the game. For the weapon, I chose the lance, just the normal one, and when I first started playing, I hated this weapon. I thought it was slow and not really capable of putting out much damage. At least not quickly anyways. And I was completely wrong about the lance. In fact, I think it's the best weapon in Monster Hunter World. With the right armor build out and the right lance, you can beat pretty much everything in the game solo or in a group, including tempers. Now, I'm going to show you why this weapon is so strong. I do play on Xbox One, so you PS4 players are just going to have to translate this over. It has 3 primary attacks. The Y attack is a mid-thrust. You use that most of the time to hit smaller monsters, and you're going to use it to hit large monsters when they're knocked down. B is the high thrust. You use that primarily for large monsters, ones that you need to jab upwards to hit, like Diablos, if you need to hit him in the face, or if Rathian's up in the air, you can use that to hit him in the tail. Then Y and B is a sweep. It'll do a sweeping attack, and personally, I don't ever use that. If you pull and hold the right trigger, you go into guard mode, and that's where all the magic starts. While in guard mode, you're covered up and protected from most attacks and damage. Without the correct armor to complement the lance, you still can take damage to the shield and be hit. So while holding the right trigger, you can hit the Y button for a quick guard thrust. And with this move, and this move only, you can defeat about everything. It does take a long time though, it's not quick, but by standing there and waiting for them to attack, blocking their hits, then hitting them once or twice with that guard thrust, you can poke your way through even the strongest monsters. And by doing this, you take very little, if any, damage. You don't have to use many potions because your Palico, if you have him outfitted with the Vitality Wasp, he's going to do a pretty good job of healing it. And it's a safe way to defeat monsters. There's relatively no risk in doing this. Also, while you're in guard, you can use guard thrust to get stamina back. If your stamina is drained, you just use that guard thrust and you'll get a little bit of stamina back. And you can keep doing this over and over to regain all your stamina. Okay, next up, while in guard mode, if we hit the B button, you go into a counter thrust. You put up your shield to block damage, and then you're going to draw your lance back. Now, if a monster hits the shield while you're in this mode, you're going to block the damage, then immediately counter with a big strike. The bad thing about this is you can only hold the move for about 2.5, 3 seconds. And once that time's up, you're automatically going to thrust if the monster has not hit you. And that's going to leave you open for a hit. I don't use this because it's too much of a timing thing. And we've already established the computer plays out like Street Fighter. It predicts or reacts to your moves. And you're going to find if you go in to do this, you might hit it once or twice, and then the next time the computer's just going to say, hey, I know this move. And it'll wait for your charge to run out, you'll strike, and then when you're open, that's when it'll hit you. What I do use is the next set of moves off of that counter thrust. So again, I go right trigger and B to go into counter thrust, and then I hit A to go into power guard. So power guard is supposed to block more damage. I can't confirm that because I don't use it to block damage, because once you go into it, it begins draining your stamina pretty quickly, and once your stamina is out, then you're kicked out of power guard. So again, way too much timing involved in that in order to be successful. But while in power guard, you have 3 other moves you can perform. Y will perform a leaping thrust, so hold right trigger, then hit B, then A, then Y. So you'll leap forward and hit for 3 strikes. This is a good move to make up a little distance while you're in guard. The next one is B, which performs an immediate counter thrust, and I use this one a lot. So hold right trigger, then hit B, then A, then B. It's just like the counter thrust, but you don't have to time it up. Once you get good at these, you can pull these off quickly for big damage hits. The next group of moves are the moves that I think set the lance apart and pretty much bumps the lance up over the other weapons for me, and those are the dashing attacks. You can start to dash from 2 spots. The first is while just holding the right trigger. If you hit Y and B, then let go of the trigger, you're going to go into a dash. The other way to do it is from the power guard, so right trigger, then B, then A, then Y and B. While in dash, you'll begin running forward with your shield up to protect you from damage. While in this mode, it does drain stamina, and once your stamina is depleted, you'll exit dash mode. Now let's go over everything you can do in dash mode. If you run into a creature, you will continue hitting them for hit after hit after hit until one, you either run through them, bounce around them, or your stamina runs out. These are small damage hits, but those small hits quickly add up to a lot of damage. Once you run through your target, then you can hit left thumbstick and A, and that'll let you do a 180-degree turn. Then you can turn around and begin charging them again for even more damage. While in dash mode, you can hit Y to stop the dash and hit for a finishing thrust, which is a large damage attack. If you gain enough speed, you can hit Y for a double finishing thrust. While dashing, you can also hit A to jump, then Y for a mid-air leaping thrust, or a mount. And for the ease of pulling off this move, I think the lance is by far one of the easiest weapons to use to mount monsters. Some other things, while you're in dash, you can slightly adjust your direction to the left or the right. You can hit A to evade, and you can also do wall runs while in dash. The ability to dash with the lance pretty much put it over the top for me when I saw how much damage you could do while still being relatively protected. Then also factoring in the ease of getting the mounts this way. Once I started using the lance, I started getting about double the amount of mounts that I was getting with the other weapons. Now let's go into the setup that I'm running for this build. For the lance, I'm using the 𝐶𝐁𝐍. Not the best looking or the most damaging lance, but I use it for one reason, and that's because it has 2 large decoration slots, and it's the only lance that has that. And with those 2 large slots, that gives you a lot more options on your decorations. For the helm, I'm using the 𝐓𝐇𝐀𝐍𝐊 helm that gives you level 1 thunder resistance. I'm not choosing it for that. I'm only equipping it so I can get 3 pieces of 𝐓𝐿 armor into the build to get 𝐓𝐿 protection. For the chest, I'm using basal mail. That provides level 2 guard. For the gauntlets, 𝐓𝐿 Van braces, which provides level 1 guard. For the coil, I'm using a basal coil with level 2 earplugs. And for the legs, I'm using 𝐓𝐿 greaves, which adds another 2 levels of guard. For the charm, I'm using a blessing charm that's been upgraded to level 3. And for the decorations, I know that not everyone is going to have these, but these are decorations that you can work toward. So I have 3 brace jewels, 3 steadfast jewels, and those are the most important 3. And that leaves these 3 down here, and these are interchangeable. Say you're fighting Rathalos, and you can put 3 antidote jewels in these, and he won't be able to poison you. Or for 𝐊𝐿𝐍𝐵, you could use 3 miasma, so he won't be able to hit you with that effluvial buildup. With those decorations and that armor, what you're going to end up with is guard 5. And that guard 5 is huge, because when you get hit with that shield up, if you don't have guard, you're going to keep getting pushed back. And with guard 5, you're going to see like almost no pushback ever. It's also going to reduce the amount of stamina you're going to use when doing moves in the guard mode. You're going to get stun resistance 3, and that's because of those 3 steadfast jewels. And in my opinion, those are the most valuable jewels in the game, because getting stunned is probably what accounted to most of my deaths, and that's going to completely make you unstunnable. You get earplugs 2. If you want to use a decoration on the coil, that can get you up to earplugs 3, so that's going to nullify everything but the strongest monster roars. We get Divine Blessing 3 from the charm, which reduces damage up to 50%. And you're going to get Flinch 3 from the 3 brace decorations, so you can't be tripped or knocked back. Probably one of the most important things we're going to get out of this set, though, is with those 3 pieces of 𝐓𝐿 armor, we are getting 𝐓𝐿 protection. And that's going to allow you to block unblockable attacks. So this is a very defensive armor build that can protect you from almost every little piece of bullshit you can get hit with, except ground tremors, air pressure, and the strongest monster roars. It can block every attack. Negrigante Death Dives, Teostra Fire Attacks, Xeno'jiiva Blast Attack. Your shield can handle it all, and you're not going to get knocked back or knocked around. And that gives you the option to be very defensive, like I showed you in the beginning. You can play it safe and stay in that guard and poke them to death. Or you can open it up while still being safe and go into the counter thrust and power guard. And then when you start feeling really confident, you can start going for those dash attacks and mounts. So if you're having a rough time in Monster Hunter World and you find yourself getting killed a lot, try this Lance build. And I think you're going to find out it's not only really fun to play, it's a strong build, and it's super reliable. Whenever I'm having trouble beating a monster with another weapon, I usually go to this Lance build, and I'm able to defeat them pretty easily. It's not relying on potions or powders. I go through a lot of fights, and I find out that I didn't even use my Vitality Mantle, so it's a good build also to save on mats. So let me know what you think about the Lance build. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and until next time, I will talk to you later. Have a good one.